The wave of Americans leaving the U.S. When the American dream becomes a question mark. When discontent turns into action. Have you ever imagined leaving your homeland, the very place where you grew up, studied, worked, and built a family, just because your belief in a better future slowly faded away? For Kevin and Jessica Solura, a couple from North Carolina, today's America no longer reflects the values they once trusted. According to them, the results of the recent presidential election were the final straw in a decision they had long been considering. Kevin said the events following Trump's re-election, especially the January 6th Capitol riots, made him feel like the government no longer operated on reality, but rather on propaganda and emotional manipulation. And they weren't just talking. This August, the couple and their 2 children will board a one-way flight to Rabat, Morocco, beginning a completely new life. Not just one isolated case. Let me be clear, the Solura family is not an isolated case. In fact, more and more Americans are not just contemplating leaving the country, they're actually doing it. Official data from countries like the UK, Ireland, and Canada show a significant surge in citizenship applications from US nationals. Over 1.900 Americans applied for a British passport in the first quarter of 2025, the highest number since 2004. In Ireland, about 4.700 applied for citizenship through Ancestry, the highest quarterly number in a decade. Which begs the question, has the American dream become a luxury even for Americans themselves? Why are people leaving? From reading various legal and immigration analyses, I've come to realize, politics isn't the only reason people are leaving. According to Dina Modi, an immigration advisor in the UK, many clients pursue dual citizenship as a form of insurance. They want more options in the future, especially as policies around taxes, immigration, and healthcare become increasingly unstable. That said, we can't ignore that politics still plays a huge role. Immigration lawyer David L'Esperance shared that while he used to receive about 2 immigration inquiries a week, the number has now jumped to 5 a day. Notably, many of these are from wealthy families, or parents of LGBTQ+ children. Take this example. After Trump signed an executive order in January limiting gender-affirming healthcare for youth, L'Esperance received 7 phone calls from concerned parents. They no longer felt that America was a safe place for their children to grow up and live authentically. When fear crosses party lines, you might assume that this wave of emigration only includes those who oppose Trump's leadership. But the story is more complex. Lawyer Melvin Warshaw said members of the LGBTQ+ community feel their rights are under threat, regardless of which party is in power. For them, leaving is not a luxury, it's a form of protection. For themselves and their loved ones. A prime example is comedian Rosie O'Donnell, a longtime critic of Trump. She moved to Ireland with her child this January. On TikTok, she said bluntly, "We'll consider coming back when all Americans can live safely and equally. When the feeling of belonging disappears." Not everyone leaves because of politics or personal rights. Some, like screenwriter Eric Lindsay, simply no longer feel like they belong. Lindsay left the US for Italy in 2020, after years of witnessing deepening political divides. To him, America was going through an ideological civil war, where political conversations often ended in arguments instead of understanding. So he chose to leave. In his words, he wanted a place where he could have thoughtful, meaningful conversations about politics, a place where dialogue isn't just a contest of who's right. The questions you and I need to ask. After all this, I want to ask you something simple. Are the people leaving the US running away? Or are they searching for a life that aligns with their values? I'm not encouraging people to give up, but there's no denying that a quiet, growing wave is forming, where more Americans no longer see the US as home. If you've always believed that freedom, opportunity, and safety were guaranteed by living in America, maybe now's the time to pause and reflect. Not to judge, but to understand. A country isn't built only by laws and elections, it's built by the trust of its people.